Hey guys, in today's video I wanna share some tips that seriously help me win a lot more games when playing as a jungler, and hopefully these tips will help you as well, especially if you play solo a lot. I had a similar video with this topic before, but as we all know, as we keep playing we learn new things, so this is going to be the more updated version. For those who are new to this channel, I want a bit of proof to make these tips more legit. You can see that I have a decent win rate with this jungler, even as a solo player. Anyway, for the first tip, it's usually recommended to pick a jungler that your team needs the most and that is not heavily countered by the opponent's heroes. For example, if your team has no frontline at all, then you might consider picking a more tanky jungler such as Fredring. But you can also pick junglers like Martis and Balmond and just build them with more tanky items. Also, you don't want your jungler pick to be countered by many. Like if you are planning to play a hero like Fanny, you might think twice before picking her if the opponents have hero like Minsitthar and Khufra. But of course, if you're really godly with certain junglers and you are really confident, you can still pick them regardless if there are counters or not.
5 seconds till the enemy reaches the backup. Smash them. All troops deployed. Everything looks more colorful than dreams.
Expert got a bit too comfortable, so we had to punish him for that.
Double kill.
Alpha is a really solid jungler, but he only gets that strong when he gets his ult. And this leads me to the second tip. It's crucial that you know that there are different types of junglers, and by that I mean, there are those who are great at invading the opponent's jungler, such as Balmond and Fanny. Then there are those who need a good amount of farm before they get a power spike, such as Ling, Granger and Cyclops. And then there are those who are insanely good at ganking, especially once they get their ults, such as Saber and Harley. Depending on which type you are playing, you gotta change your playstyle accordingly. In this instance, I'm playing Harley, so I'll try to gank as often as possible, especially whenever my ult is available. I definitely didn't expect their EXP to rotate all the way here, but still the damage is already done in the top lane, and we got a pretty decent trade.
Sweet dreams. An enemy has been slain.
I saw their jungler just moving towards the turtle now, so I thought I still had plenty of time to contest for the turtle. But since nobody from my team is helping, which happens very often in solo queue, sometimes just gotta give it up and not force the issue. It's actually not that big of a deal, believe it or not. It's better than risking dying and not getting anything. Dying in the early game is a huge setback, especially if you are playing as the core.
Don't call me troublemaker. I'm here to bring out a beautiful
Constantly pay attention to the map. It can tell you a lot about the situation and give you a lot more information that many overlook. For example, here you can see that Alpha ulted because on the map you can see that he dashed. I didn't see it on the main screen, but we all know that the only way Alpha can dash is by using his ult. With that information, now I'll be a lot more confident to go for the kill. On the other hand, you can see that most likely our carrier wasn't paying attention to the map, so she's afraid Alpha might ult. You can see that even though my red buff has respawned, a lot of time it's okay to ignore it for the time being, especially when you see that there's a really good chance to gank or push. Your team will gain a lot more from this. But of course, all these tips are situational and you gotta be able to judge the circumstance properly and make what you think is the best in-game decisions at that particular moment. You will be able to make better judgment as you gain experience. I think our mage is lagging, so going for the turtle right now is a bad idea. Instead, we can use it as a bait and hopefully we can catch somebody off guard. Their alpha just ulted, so this was my green light to go in. A bit unfortunate that my ally didn't follow up. At first, it seemed like I gave up on that play, which is why Expert let his guard down.
Spread the magic and sweet dreams.
Don't be afraid to use Retribution more often to clear the jungle faster. This will accelerate your farm, which in turn allows you to gank more. Just remember to save it when a neutral objective is about to spawn, or there's a team fight in a close proximity. Once again, even though my red buff is available, I thought it was a good chance to push the bot lane. I don't have Retribution, so there's no need to force the turtle now. Actually, we can just wait for the lore instead.
Sweet dreams. The troublemaker, I'm here to bring on beautiful dreams.
One of the most important things that you have to remember, especially if you are playing the jungler role, is that you want to wait for the right timing before engaging. If possible, you want to prioritize the damage dealers. This tip actually took me a while to learn. I used to think that if I'm farming well, I'll be able to completely solo carry the game. But as you keep ranking up, you see that it's gonna get harder and harder to pull that off by yourself. I noticed that I have a much higher success at winning the match when I gank often, especially in the early to mid game, so my allies will have an easier path to farm and hopefully do well in the later stage of the game. But of course there are games when some teammates are too inexperienced or the opponents are way better than yours, and there's really not much you can do to win the match. But by doing this often, you'll give yourself a much higher chance of winning.
Your team destroyed the turret. Your team destroyed a turret. Legendary. Mega kill. Legendary.
Sweet dreams.
Legendary. Ally has slain Lord. Legendary. Enemy has been slain. Double kill. Ally has been slain.
Not gonna lie, I definitely could have ended the game, but I was having a bit too much fun in this one.
Don't call me troublemaker. I'm here to bring on beautiful dreams. Everything looks more colorful in dreams. Don't call me troublemaker. I'm here to bring on beautiful dreams.
Perfect. I knew I wouldn't be able to kill anyone there, so I was hoping that I could at least bait out some of their ults. But right now our main priority is to try to shut down their marksman first during the team fights.
Double kill. Legendary.
Spread the magic and happiness to everyone.
Triple kill.
And these were some of the most important tips that helped me win more often when I play as a jungler. Hopefully these tips will help you as well, and there are probably some more, but I didn't want to make this list too long or it might be too overwhelming for one video. So maybe in a future video I will include some more.
Victory.
Anyway, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching and see ya.